Hi and welcome back to start of a new video. So as you saw in the last video, we finished up on all of the sort of major rust repairs on the MX5, and in the meantime I've been stripping out all of the Vitara. As you can see, it's all filling up the garage. I need to store it somewhere out in the shed or the loft and all that. But whilst I've got a little bit of sunlight today, not too long but just a little bit of time, I'm going to start bracing up the Vitara. I've got a few bits cut out already, sort of roughly measured up, and just try and get it to a point where I can start cutting the floors out. So yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I had to repair the daily as well, but less on that. So as you can see, it's all stripped down, arches are off, and to be honest, it's not all too bad. So you see I've got a few bits sort of measured up, pre-cut, but yeah, it's had some less than great work previously, but all that's not going to be going forward. Japanese cars being Japanese cars, and then that's the only real bit on the sort of initial interior that's of any real problem. But I think when I cut this, I wouldn't mind keeping these wing tops and just mount those onto the MX5 sort of inner wings themselves. So this, I might end up just cutting up there and losing all this panel anyway, and then just cut it across there, something like that. That way I can keep this kind of rigidity bit and then just do a few little repairs to these. But yeah, I mean, there's some bits that unfortunately aren't too great, but the only thing I really need to keep from here are the sort of headlight mounting holes, so I might be able to just cut across there, just straight down, because I shouldn't be needing to keep much of this. Yeah, but this side, not as bad. But one thing I am quite pleased on is both of the sills are quite good. Obviously these side trim mounting plates have seen better days. These back ones are quite good. But yeah, I mean, so this was the suspect quarter to start with, and I can feel like there in particular there is metal going inwards, but there's it's somewhat ish straight, you know, from 40 feet away. But I always knew this quarter was going to be a bit suspect. But yeah, it's clearly had a bit of a prang this side, but it is what it is. I noticed that both sides, same place, it was a little bit seam sealery, but the front of the quarters actually look quite good, like all down here. So yeah, and then another bit there, but that shouldn't be hard to repair. Yeah, a little bit of corrosion on boot lid just along there, but so they're a fairly simple design, so it shouldn't take much to repair that. And then I've got plans for the fuel filler neck, because they're opposite sides from MX5 to Vitara. Down there looks somewhat reasonable. Obviously it's had a little repair there, but again, sills themselves don't look too bad. Got a little bit of a pull. Let me just push that out. Continuing on with the last video's theme, we've had yet more rain, and unfortunately it has lent itself to be a little bit of an issue along here. So we can just look through here to get through the bagging. Yeah, it's a little bit sad along there. There. And there. So yeah, we've got a bit of work to do around the scuttle, but it is what it is. The fronts look fairly reasonable. So yeah, if it wasn't the rear quarter that died, I'm sure something else would have. So I'm glad I get to save it in one way or another. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, like I said, there's a few repairs to do, but a lot of the repairs can kind of be fixed with modifications in one way or another. And like I said as well, I'm using this as a platform to get quite creative with. Yeah, not a lot of this build will be sort of left as is anyway. Just gives me an excuse to get sort of creative with the fixes and try and make it just that a little bit more unique. So yeah, let's whilst we got an hour or two out here, I'll start getting some bracing welding in. Right, so that's the sort of first stage of bracing things up. You can see, got one side to side, front, rear, X-braced, front, well, middle to rear, and X-braced, middle to top. Just keep everything as square as it can. So that's the back end of it done. Next, I'll start on the front. So I think I'll end up going side to side, and then I might have two pieces welded together, going sort of middle to front, because that's, I think, where I'm going to be lifting the body off. So yeah, so I'll have a little bit of a tidy up. Unfortunately, that'll be this day's sort of work progress at an end. Go in, make some dinner, ready to start a new work week and all that. So yeah, I think for a first day, it's not too bad. So yeah, everything welded up, pretty nice. Yeah, good bit of progress for today. But one thing's clear, it was well worth the time taken to make this. It's just handy being able to wheel everything out and have everything at my disposal as far as clamps, having my pens and all that. The drawers are a bit free wandering, but what they have keys for. So lots to be done, and yeah, try and crack through it whilst it's not raining. Right, so another day. Just finished work. I thought I'd just carry on bracing up the inside. So yeah, before we lose daylight, let's crack on. Right, so that's everything all braced up. I just wanted to add one across the windscreen, and then I've double braced it, sort of windscreen to centre bracing. So you see, rolled it all the way around from that point to that point, and then just stitched it both sides, and then under that, and then side and side. So it's nothing, you know, super fancy, but I can't imagine the body on this being stupidly heavy, so I might have even overdone it as far as bracing. I'd rather be too safe than not enough. And then engine bay wise, again, very horrible engine bay, sadness and sadness. But I digress. So since I'm going to be cutting it along the bottom of that, I feel like this little, like, sort of dimpled box section, both sides, should be strong enough just to hold this little headlight bowl, and I might even just nip it just straight across there, and vice versa, across there and down there, because all I need is the actual faces where the headlights mount up both sides. So I just put this across, a little bit of flat bar, just to keep everything at the correct distance, just so it doesn't get chubby cheeks. So I feel like that's adequate enough to keep everything square. So moving on from here, I'll get the engine crane out. That's like what I'll likely be using to take the body off, take the weight of the body, and just kind of just crudely cut the floors out where I know I'm not really gonna be using, and just separate the body, and then I can clean it up when I'm getting there properly. So yeah, so that's the next steps. Right, so it's a new day. As you can see, I've had a little bit of a tidy up, just basically dumped everything that I could in the shed. I didn't have room for these at the minute. But yeah, obviously carrying on with getting the two sort of put together. I think it's about that time to get the MX5 on its new wheels. So I've said before that these aren't going to be the wheels that it'll run like super long term, but these are wheels that will just sort of, they'll look good, they'll get me on the road, and they'll enable me to actually set all the wide body or the wide fenders for the sort of main build stage. And then in time, when I've got not as many things to focus on, I can look at getting some custom 2 or 3 piece wheels made up for it. But yeah, let's get the new wheels on. Right, so there we have it. The wheels, or should I say the first stage of wheels, are on, and these are what the body is going to be widened to sort of reflect. So they're 16x10s all round, but there's an inch extra dish on the rear ones. I actually need to work out what sort of offset they are. There you are. So I just had them done the white powder coat, and then the little holes that go around the edge, they'll be sort of, they'll have gold bolts going through them to match the gold valve stems. Got those off SRR hardware, and they're really nice, good quality, they seal well, and they're mounted on 245/45/16s. They are part worn. I largely got them just to basically get the wheels on some tyres for, you know, setting the body height. But 4 Toyo R888s for £100 or $130 odd, you can't really moan at that. They've all got 4.5 to 5 mil of tread left. So even if I run them for a year and then put a new set on all round, the wheels are going to be running until the car's all done and together. And at that point, when I've got no other large bits to do, I can say, look at doing some 2 or 3 piece splits. But yeah, it's nice to actually get them on the car, out the bedroom, and another little step forward. So now they're on, I can get this sort of ready to swap over. Right, so another day. I've only got a really short amount of time this evening because it's, as you can see, it's starting to set now. But I think I'm going to try and go round and cut some of the smaller areas on the Vitara, and I might just see if I can get it all cut, bar the floor to sill sort of sections, just have that kind of hold it up, and then I'll get the engine crane out, lift it, or take the weight of it, and then cut those possibly tomorrow. But I just wanted to make a start on cutting it. Right, so there we have it. It is detached. See, cut across there, there, go straight down. I just tried to make it as good as I could to make things be able to seamlessly attach from one side to the other. As I see a few little bits of rust that are going to want addressing, but I need to see sort of where it's going to butt into the MX5 and sort of catch. So we don't know if that's going to be a case of I'll end up cutting those off regardless. Obviously you can get a better view of that back corner there, that little corner there. That was just sealer. Down there was just sealer. And then that's where that big sort of rot hole was. This side actually doesn't seem as bad, all things considered. Obviously it's had a bit of a shoddy repair there, but it is what it is. They're still a 30-year-old Suzuki. So yeah, I'd say that's a job well done. So obviously cut across there. I cut that side lower down because these two larger holes the Vitara has like an inlet that sits just behind the wing there, and then it feeds into a bunch of boxes and diverts into the engine bay. So if I could keep that functional, then when I come to turbo this, at least then I can sort of use that as a dedicated cold air feed. Yeah, I think all in all, not too bad. Obviously that's going to want a bit of a dressing, but the thread's snapped off in it, so I might just remake that when I come round and sort of clean up all this. It's just the bottom mount for the wing, and I still have that one there to kind of get things started. So the door's still in the same place it was, so as long as I can get the wing kind of squared up, then I can actually sort of set things going for sort of repairing that. That side's kind of folded out just as it's come off. Straighten out, weld it back on. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest milestones we're going to have. You know, it's good that I suppose all the doors and things still open and close as they should, and obviously the outer tubs, should I say, they'll probably end up getting cut off as well, just due to sort of future developments. Yeah, obviously the hardtop's not super well mounted, so it kind of slides around. But yeah, I'd say that's getting closer to seeing that. So yeah, I think that'll be it for this video. There's obviously quite a bit of time lapsing and whatnot to sort of edit through, and I don't want to have the videos super long and sort of any more tedious to watch than they have to be. So yeah, we'll call it here. I think next video, tidy up the inside of the Vitara cab, try and get that sort of cleaned up and sort of somewhat ready to start test fitting on the MX5. I think when I lift it up next time, I'll make the effort and take the doors off. I thought it wouldn't add too much sort of challenge, but unfortunately just having the one door, it just throws everything off. Hence the surprise appearance from the missus, but she's happy to do it. She's obviously just kept the hoodie on, so she weren't on camera, so to speak. But yeah, that's the sort of game plan. Once again, thank you for everyone that's watched along so far and your continued support. Obviously things are starting to move in a better direction now, thankfully. It's been a long old journey to get just to this point, but we'll keep going. I'll try and sort of, again, try and keep everything as pleasant for the neighbours as I can. But you might have noticed in one of the time lapses towards the end, one of the neighbours I was trying to keep quiet for is starting to get a bit spicy. But as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't doing anything overly offensive. But I've got good authority. They're at a point in their lives they like to moan a little bit. But it is what it is. I'll still try and keep the peace as much as I can. So yeah, as many challenges that come up, we'll try and work around them and resolve them. But yeah, thank you again once again for everyone's sort of support. Please like, comment, subscribe as normal. It means a lot to anyone watching along, sort of, especially if you're regularly keeping up with the build. Hopefully this is where things start getting good. So see you in the next one. Take care.
Check it out.